Hi, I'm Tom Craven. I'm going to show you why you should not be using clarity in Photoshop or Lightroom. So let's get into the video. First of all, what we need to do is work out what does clarity actually mean in the context of this slider on Lightroom. And what it does is it takes the midtones and pushes them towards the highlights and the shadows, which creates more contrast within the midtones. And it then therefore gives the appearance of more clarity and more detail there, when actually all it's doing is pointing out the imperfections in the sensor. So what I'll do here is, you can see it's currently on 0, and if I just push it up, you can see as it takes that image and ruins it. This is ruined. But I see so many photographers doing this as music photographers or whatever they're doing, pushing it to the full, thinking that looks good because it's more detail. It's not more detail. What it's done, if we go back here, see how it takes these bits that are midtones, but more towards the highlights than they are the shadows, compared to the shadows here, right? So what we do is when we push it up, it's just separating them two out, not making any more information. You can't add information to an image once it's captured. That's it. That's the information you've got. So what this is doing is actually creating a lot of noise, as you can see in the top left corner here. It just creates a lot of noise across the image, which doesn't look good. The skin always looks terrible, always looks like they've got even more of a sweat on than they usually do. And it makes them look like they're made of plastic. And I just don't know why people are using that one when you've got actually a much better alternative just above it. Texture. What the texture slider does is it is actually a smart sharpening tool within Lightroom. So if I drag that up to the max, you can see that it sharpens the edges, but there's none of them blown out highlights that you get with using clarity. So if you wanted to add a bit of sharpness, it is after the fact, unfortunately. That's how I would be recommending doing it. This all said, I always add a little bit to every image. I always add a little bit of clarity, and that's not because actually I want to try and add all that information in. It's just to give it a little bit of separation in their midtones, just to add in there. But I don't want to overdo it. The reason I think people max out the clarity slide is because they think more detail is better, and they think that clarity is adding detail. It can't add detail. Detail's gone. If you've not caught it in the raw file, it doesn't exist, and therefore all you're really doing is sharpening in very localized areas, which is going to cause eventually noise, especially at gigs because it's low light already, so you're using a high ISO there. So you are going to find that actually it just becomes a very noisy, grainy image, and the skin always looks terrible when you've done this. There's no reason you should be doing it like this. By all means, add a little smidge in there like I do. I go like that. It looks hazy almost. But really what I want to do is have it so that people stop using clarity to the full extent. There is no need. What it does, it makes it look like one of them really bad HDR images that I know I have done, but we all need to stop doing that. I hope this helped make you realize that actually clarity isn't the best option out there, and there is much better alternatives that you can use. If you know someone who uses clarity a lot in their images, please just send them this video so they can find out why actually it's not the best method of sharpening an image. See ya!